Hello, hello, and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
Today we are going to be discussing the Powerpuff Girls episodes A Very Special Blossom and Daylight Savings. No, I don't believe there's any new news today, so I'm just going to get started talking about A Very Special Blossom. It's almost Father's Day in Townsville. It's Professor Utonium's favorite holiday, and he plans to make his favorite meal, liver and onions. Blossom asks what kind of present he wants, and he says he doesn't care about material possessions, but seems underwhelmed by homemade gifts the girls have given him in the past, calling them kind of funky but charming. It is then that he sees his ultimate Father's Day gift, the Pro Excellence 2000 golf clubs, a very rare and expensive set of golf clubs that the professor claims will give him the perfect game of golf. He geeks out about them until he sees the price tag, $2,000. He sadly goes home to his liver and onions. The girls attempt to make their own set of golf clubs for Professor, but realize theirs aren't nearly as good, and they made them out of like old socks and a trash can, just a bunch of junk. They want to raise money to buy them for him, but are unsure of their talents besides crime fighting. The mayor calls the girls in to fight MoJo, who had a temper tantrum because the hobby store didn't have his model ships in. The mayor offers the girls a reward for saving the day, though he seems to mostly just want to give them cookies and like some nickels and dimes. He freaks out and literally nearly has a heart attack when he hears they need $2,000, which to me, I think, maybe they do deserve some cash for saving the day all the time. And, like in a city budget, especially one like Townsville that's always getting like destroyed and rebuilt all the time, like $2,000 is probably like a drop in the bucket. They could have like a superhero budget or something. But, anyways, he asks Miss Bellum for his heart pills and says he's no sugar daddy. Those days are over. Miss Bellum says they must have been joking and shoos the girls out to go clean up MoJo's mess. As they do so, Blossom spots the professor's fancy golf clubs in a broken-into store. Remembering his excitement about the clubs, Blossom decides to steal them from the store and flies off with them. The next day is Father's Day, and Bubbles and Buttercup have attempted to make liver and onions for their papa, but apparently made something resembling brownies instead. Professor says he doesn't want to eat without all the girls there, but Bubbles and Buttercup aren't sure where Blossom is. She didn't even want to help with breakfast that morning. Blossom finally bursts in with the Pro Excellence 2000 clubs and claims they're an extra special present just from her. Her sisters are suspicious of how she could have paid for them, but Professor is so enraptured by the golf clubs that he brushes away their concerns and cares only about the golf game he has with the mayor later that day. Bubbles and Buttercup question Blossom after the professor leaves, but she just says she found them. Later at the golf course, the mayor and the police chief talk about the Pro Excellence clubs having gone missing after MoJo's freak out the day before. They say that monkeys are too stupid to golf, so MoJo couldn't have possibly stolen them. They talk about how their games would be perfect with the clubs when Professor shows up brandishing the missing set. The police chief has the professor arrested. Professor calls Blossom from jail and says he's been arrested for stealing but is innocent. Blossom breaks into MoJo's secret volcano lair while he's putting together his model ship. She brings him into jail all tied up in a bundle and claims MoJo sold her the stolen clubs. Bubbles and Buttercup remind her that she said she found them, and instead of admitting what she did, the girls fight. Bubbles and Buttercup defeat Blossom, and she finally admits to stealing. The professor says that it's his fault because he shouldn't have valued material possessions over his girls. Blossom says she's sorry for what she's done, and the professor asks the police chief to go easy on her because this is her first offense, but he refuses to do so, and Blossom is sentenced to 200 hours of community service, which seems kind of wild to do to a 5 or 6-year-old, but yeah.
Yeah, so it was like her first offense. Yeah, she's a kindergartner. And the items were returned. I mean, Professor didn't even play around with golf with them.
Yeah.
So they weren't, I mean, as opposed to technically since they were taken out of the store, they're not mint condition, but they weren't harmed.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like out of character for Blossom to do that.
Yeah. And then the punishment seemed kind of severe.
I think all the girls felt sad that they couldn't get money from the mayor or they couldn't raise money for the golf clubs. I don't think the professor's ever really expressed that he likes to play golf before.
No, not until this episode. I'm not sure if he ever talks about it again later either.
So, I mean, if they had known, maybe over the course of the year, like they could have raised the money for like Christmas or his birthday or Father's Day to get him such a gift, but it's kind of like a lot to ask for. I know initially he
Yes,
said he didn't need a gift. It's kind of like a lot to expect for like 5-year-olds to get
absolutely.
him, and it's really probably something he just needs to save up for himself.
Yeah, I mean, even if they were like teenagers or adults, I'd say $2,000 for a gift is still quite a lot to expect from your kids.
And then as far as like the town or the mayor paying the girls, I do think maybe they should be given something, even if it like just sort of goes into like a trust fund, maybe that they don't get till they're adults.
Yeah,
But they do a lot of work, we see in the next episode where they are pretty much on call 24/7 for the town. So it's not really fair that they're not being compensated in some way. I feel like I know they were like kind of out of time for Father's Day, and maybe that's why Blossom just went ahead and did it. But like that they could have kept pursuing it. I'm not sure why even Miss Bellum kind of poo-pooed
yeah,
them getting paid or like didn't make some sort of other suggestion about it instead of just go clean up after MoJo. Like really?
yeah. Those kind of felt out of character for Miss Bellum too, honestly.
Think it's they should be. I think one of them put out the fire or whatever, a fire, and I think that part's okay, but to expect them to clean up after MoJo is ridiculous. Why doesn't
Yeah.
he get community service and he have to clean up his mess?
Yeah, he was just like back in his volcano lair the next day, like building his precious model ship.
So there's just kind of parts of this that just seem out of character all around for everybody. But they do have like kind of a track record of like going overboard with some crimes. And then, like you said, Mojo's back in his lair, even though he kind of like trashed the city the next day.
Yeah,
So
shit's bonkers.
and I don't know what to say about the liver and onions. I think maybe like he wanted them. Maybe he could have found a recipe
Yeah.
for the girls to follow, or like he could have helped them make it.
I want to know what they did to them that it made them like smell and look like brownies to him.
Yeah, because I thought he wanted to make the liver and onions.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The girls just decided because they didn't have any other gift to go ahead and make it or what. But
Yeah. I guess the only trivia I really have for this episode is that when Blossom goes to kidnap Mojo, basically, we see a picture of his biological father, who appears to be like a sailor of some time, with the dates 1901 to 1998. So the wildest part of that to me is that Mojo's dad lived to be 97, and he was seemingly maybe not a normal monkey because he was wearing the sailor outfit, but that's pretty old to live to for a monkey.
yeah, I feel like maybe they make it into their 30s or something.
Yeah. And if they said like Mojo lived to be 97, I'd buy that. But I'm like, his papa?
Okay, so the next episode is Daylight Savings, and these were originally broadcast in the US November 26th, 1999. So I think this is the last episode of the year or something, also. I don't know. I could be wrong. The Powerpuff Girls are on the job fighting crime 24/7, but can't keep their eyes open for school. So Miss Keene suggests a 7:30 curfew for the girls during a parent-teacher conference with Professor. And she keeps saying class like class. Buttercup says the juicy stuff doesn't happen until 9, after 9. They head out to stop Mojo, who is in almost like this little mini helicopter thing, and he's blasting holes in the town, and he even like blasts this hole through a person. So there's all these like cheese jokes, like Swiss cheese, and that he's putting all these little holes, like kind of big
Yeah.
holes. When the professor calls them home at 7:30. So they haven't defeated Mojo, they're in the middle of it, but they have to come home.
Yeah, they pretty much like were maybe about to like touch him, like punch him, and then, oh, you gotta go home.
The girls worry Townsville won't survive the night, as almost every villain parades by their house headed into town. Bubbles is upset there are no floats or balloons in the parade. The hotline rings, but the professor disables it. He listens to the radio and hears about the trouble in Townsville. He turns on the TV and realizes that the time had changed the previous day, and it was really an hour earlier. So he wakes the girls to save Townsville and throws them out their round windows like footballs. Professor watches and listens to the coverage as the girls once again save Townsville.
Yeah. I'm not super fond of either of these episodes, but I did enjoy him just like hucking them out the window.
It's just like crazy. Like, I mean, I'm not sure how often the town is attacked, but it was like just all hell broke loose because all of a sudden they had a curfew. It was like all the villains found out that they had a curfew and then decided to just go wreak havoc in town. I feel bad for them. I think they do need some sort of curfew or they need some other superheroes to like maybe rotate schedules with so that
Yeah.
they can sleep.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for them to do because they're three small children and then they're expected to take care of this town 24/7.
And be awake in school, and I don't know. I'm not sure what their curfew was before. It's like they have to be able to sleep. I mean, it seems like they do sleep, like they are superheroes, but they do fall asleep, so they obviously need to sleep some.
Yeah.
I don't know if the girls themselves could take turns, but it just doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, they need like some teen or adult heroes or something. Closest we really ever get to this is like when they did have Major Man, but he was a fraud and staged all those fights. So it wasn't exactly helpful for anybody.
I feel like the police force or something could be trained a little bit better. And like Professor made that whole robot just for them, like a protection robot.
Yeah.
Like maybe if they just had like some sort of crime fighting technology that they can handle things when the girls do have to go to school and when they do have to sleep, so they can like actually kind of be little girls sometimes and not just always superheroes.
Yeah. I'm like, you're ruining their childhoods with all these expectations.
And yes, the time change does suck.
Yeah, it's one of my least favorite times of the year. I do not enjoy it getting dark that early. It especially sucks if you have like seasonal depression like I do, like, and then it's just like, boom, it's dark at 4.
I'm not sure why we continue to do it really because
Yeah.
I guess it's, well, I don't know. Like, it sort of makes sense if you were like farmers, I guess. I don't know. Like, time is sort of a made up thing anyway, but
Yeah.
most people aren't farmers or like have outside jobs. I am a postal worker and I do have an outside job. So like, I mean, I guess there are a few jobs that depend on like how much daylight there is at a certain time of year, but
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense in this day and age.
it's
And
it's always proven like that. Well, people do have the seasonal depression, but also like that people have more accidents like the week or two after this is done because
yeah,
it messes up people's sleep schedule.
yeah,
The little kids in the morning too have to get on the bus in the dark. Like I don't know. I don't know who's figuring out all that stuff. Like when kids go to school, but I
yeah.
feel like that's dangerous too. But
It's not practical either, like, honestly. And I guess we have Ben Franklin to blame for daylight savings. Damn you, Ben Franklin.
they wanted to save candles or something, right?
Yeah, that's what it said at the end of the episode.
Yes.
I'm like, Ben Franklin, when I find you.
Just because he suggested it doesn't mean we have to do it.
Yeah, he wanted the national bird to be the turkey, and they didn't go along with that. So why'd they go along with daylight savings? They're like, Ben, a turkey is not majestic or fearsome enough. But daylight savings, that's just dandy.
Yes.
So, my trivia for this episode is, of course, about daylight savings. The switch between standard time and daylight savings is always on a Sunday in the US, so it's possible the episode takes place the Monday the day after daylight savings. This episode acts like it's the first time the girls were given a curfew or bedtime, but according to the wiki, they've had a curfew in 3 previous episodes. Insecticide, which I don't remember them having curfew in that one, so I almost think they mean Mommy Fearest because they kind of get one because of Sedusa, and then Boogie Frights and Dream Scheme. They were supposed to be in bed at a certain time.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused about that too, because they do go to bed. I don't know if they like even just giving a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old a curfew just seems bonker anyways.
Yes.
It's more like for when kids start doing things by themselves
Right.
inside of the house. Like maybe a 12-year-old, teenagers more get curfews.
Right.
Kids usually have a bedtime though, but yeah, there has been, like I think frequently we see them doing like a bedtime routine type thing.
Yeah. They brush their teeth. Sometimes they brush their hair. They get their jammies on. They get in their shared bed.
The scene with the professor and Miss Keene was kind of funny because it was a lady, right, before the professor
Yeah.
came out bawling from whatever Miss Keene said. And then it was like an eternity. He gets in there and Miss Keene's writing for an eternity and he's sweating. And when she finally talks, he's like, didn't he say something like, I didn't do it?
Yes. Yeah.
They were just all like, because the girls came home with like a note from her and he just like immediately freaked out.
Yeah.
I don't understand like MoJo. A lot of times he's like the go-to villain, and his volcano lair or whatever is not secret. Like it's just
No.
like in the middle of the park. It's
Yeah.
huge, and it's like they just kind of let him exist.
Yeah. It's like Adventure Brothers, like it's so the secret layer is so conspicuous. Like Venture Brothers, like their main bad guy, the Monarch, his thing is a giant yellow cocoon. So it's like you would see that coming from a mile away. Because I think it like flies and shit too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's just like the resident villain or bad guy, and I don't know. And he never really is in jail for any length of time, even though
Mhm.
sometimes the stuff he does, like, totally just like trashes a big portion of the city. And
Yeah.
I don't understand that part. Or why they don't make a more secure prison for him or something.
Yeah.
Or like raid his place and take away his lasers and stuff. I don't understand.
Because I know right exactly where he is. He's in the middle of the fucking park. Like, come on. Go get him. Go get him. Thank you all so much for listening. At the time of recording here, we have over 600 downloads, so I'd love to keep that going. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, it would be super cool if you did and left a review. We'd love to get some feedback about the show. And if you're watching or listening to it on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, and also have a second podcast called What We Pod in the Shadows about one of our favorite current sitcoms, What We Do in the Shadows, which is about 4 vampire roommates and their familiar Guillermo living on Staten Island. So that one doesn't have quite as many episodes as this because this is, a newer podcast. There haven't been as many episodes out because they have shorter seasons. But if you'd like to hear more from us and you enjoy vampires, go check it out. So until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.